Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the impact of Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, Dragon Quest, Doctor Slump, and many other things of that nature. With his recent passing, I've been requested to do a number of episodes going over his history, his legacy, his place in the Hall of Fame of anime, and basically go through different parts of his career. And as usual, as one of our greats of our industry is no longer with us, many people have gone through and make articles and YouTube videos and that kind of stuff in regards to this topic. Now, the thing that I was going to add to this discussion is that if you were, say, for example, 10 years old when Dragon Ball came out back in '87, that would mean you would have to be at least 45 years old now. Okay? And so if you look at the people who are actually doing these articles and these dedications and things like that, you have to take account to their age that they are at. Because if they aren't, up in the 50s where I am, they didn't experience the initial rush of things like Doctor Slump and Dragon Ball. Okay, if they're a little bit younger, okay, so maybe in the in the 35 range, okay, they were probably about 10 years old when they first came out in the U.S. back in '95. Okay, so they are that would be probably a little more reasonable. They basically grew up in the Toonami era, where they were able to see things like Dragon Ball, Gundam Wing, Sailor Moon, the Inuyashas on TV while they're growing up. Okay, and so their view is a little different than my view, and so I hope you will join me as we go through all the various different topics and different parts. Now, again, this is going to be a fairly long sort of discussion, so I've broken up into different parts, and we'll go through them one by one. All right. So before I begin, I want you to go down below, click like and click subscribe. Anything that you write down or anything that you do like that does help the YouTube algorithm and gets people this video out to different people and all the different fans of Mr. Toriyama. All right. If you'd like to support me, I also have the PayPal and the Patreon links below, as well as the instructions on how to do things like media trades and that kind of stuff is also in that link down below, so you can go and check that out. I also will make mention that second book in my novel series is now available. It is free on Amazon for a limited amount of time, so you can go there and you can click on that link, and it's absolutely free. You can just click on it. You can have a read at it if you like. You can leave me a review. I'd love that. But not required. But if you want to, go ahead. And again, it's absolutely free for a limited amount of time there, and you can go and check it out and see what AI can write nowadays. All right. The other thing I'm doing is I'm also hosting my next anime giveaway for hitting episode 350. And again, you might want to check out those to see what free things that you might want to get with that giveaway. So again, do check the links below to see that. Okay. So in today's episode, I'm going to cover where Akira Toriyama's place in the Hall of Fame, if you will, of anime, and where he should sit, and kind of place him against all the other artists and manga people at that particular time, and see where he fits and tiers against everybody else, and what he has done that has managed to come up above all those other people, to be the largest selling manga artist across the world. Okay, how did he earn that title? And let's see where that leads. Okay, so without further delay, let's get into that topic. So I pull up the spreadsheet for the top 30 animes for 1980. So this spreadsheet that you see in front of you here basically has the top 30 TV shows, OVAs, and movies for the entirety of 1980 to 1989. I spent well over 15 episodes going through each year, going through all the important titles to the Western, to us in North America, that are significant in the 1980s, and then after I've done everything from 1980 to 1989, then I went through and compiled and extracted the top 30 titles in each category and placed them into this sheet here. And so the reason I did this is because we have to look at what Dragon Ball, what Akira Toriyama, had to work against. What other things were coming out at that time, and what other things were available for us to watch, and then thus what we would compare him to, and let's see where he was able to capitalize on something like Dragon Ball to make it the top-selling manga all over the world. Okay, so I want to go through this list and to kind of go through the artists that I see in this list and kind of make mentions of them, and then that way you can see where the analysis comes from. The first name I want to go over on the list is Yoshikazu Yasuhiko. All right, now he's the guy who does things like Gundam, Zeta Gundam, Crusher Joe, Arion, Giant Gorg, Venus Wars, Raideen. So very, makes some really nice movies. He's got a very nice pastel-like kind of artwork to him. He has a nice variety of different types of shows and that kind of stuff that he has in his repertoire. Everything from the giant robot shows to action sort of type of shows. So he was definitely a very positive figure in the 80s. The next person I want to mention is Lei Matsumoto. Okay, he's the person that's responsible for the entire Captain Harlock, Galaxy Express 39, Space Cruiser Yamato, Vanguard Ace, Queen Millennia, even at Interstellar 555. He had built a universe that was sort of all interconnected and had all these elements. He was able to launch multiple IPs in the same universe / multiverse, using that kind of style that he did, and he did that very well. Considering that he added many different characters and that kind of stuff. That's one thing that maybe Dragon Ball didn't do, is when it went from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball GT and that kind of stuff. It was still the same timeline. It was the same universe, obviously, but it was the same timeline that kept going forward. And he didn't really branch off that too much. Although you had that little kind of crossover of Dr. Slump into a couple episodes, but that didn't other things could have transpired with that. But so Lei Matsumoto had built a really nice multiverse of stuff that contains many of his IPs, and even to date, right, they continue to still make more concepts of the 3-9 and of course space battleship Yamato. The next name is Hiroki Mikimoto. He's the one that brought us Gunbusters, Macross, Orgus, Gundam 080, and Megazone 23 in the 1980s. It was his Macross that led the beginnings of the entire Robotech series, when they combined Macross, Southern Cross, and Mospeed together and made it a nice syndicated package of Robotech here in North America. So for the people that are the pre-Toonami generation, many people will quote Robotech as being one of the first animes that really captured the Western audience. The other things that he produced was the fact that he made some very popular OVAs right at the very beginning that were extremely popular in the importing of Japanese anime into North America. Some of our first OVAs that we had were things like Gunbusters, Megazone 23, and of course the first OVAs for Gundam was Gundam 080, were all from him. Okay, so some of the first VHS releases here in North America for animes were things like the LA Hero version of Gunbusters and of course all the Megazone 23 that came out from Streamline were all from him. So a lot of people do accredit a lot of the first animes that they've seen from this man. Okay, the next big manga name is Rumiko Takahashi. Okay, in the 80s, she was untouchable. Okay, all throughout the 80s, there wasn't a time very long that one of her mangas was not an anime on TV at that time. Okay, it started with Uhu Tetsuka, gone on to Ranma 1/2. Then there's going to be Maison Ikkoku. Then that progressed on to things like Inuyasha. She had a bunch of little short things on the Rubik Theater, Mermaid's Force, Mermaid's Scar, things like that. But, these very iconic long series, okay, would help her propel her into, manga fandom. I mean, arguably, she probably sells more copies of all these various different IPs that she has than Dragon Ball, okay? And, so one thing that she's managed to master is the formula. I mean, you can think of how all these shows are basically the guy trying to chase the girl, and things happen that keep them apart, and then all these massive number of other characters come in to make things, worse for them. But then you're waiting 100 episodes to find out if they can get together at the end, sort of thing, right? And she's managed to master this formula for everything, like Ranma, Uhu Tetsuka, Inuyasha, Maison Ikkoku. That's essentially the plot that she uses. But, again, people really seem to enamor with this. Now, is any of the IPs as maybe, shall we say, as popular as, let's say, like the Dragon Ball? It is globally, because these are, generally speaking, romance type shows, right? And that's one thing that you can argue is that the appeal is a little different, but the sales numbers are definitely there, and the amount of anime titles are definitely there. The next artist that is also very similar to Akira Toriyama is Hojo. Okay, he's the guy who does the entire City Hunter Cat's Eye Angel Heart manga series. So the reason I put this one in is because it is very similar in the way that Dragon Ball is written. Is because it, again, is one sort of long continuous timeline which uses the same characters and reoccurring characters in the entire timeline. Now, of course, Dragon Ball, gained a larger popularity, just as City Hunter and has done in multiple different countries. But for some reason, it just didn't really click in place. Maybe it wasn't marketed properly. But definitely, the appeal of City Hunter is definitely there. And I just wanted to make a mention of this one because the title of City Hunter is very popular in the Asian sphere and in popular media. Okay. I won't get into that in this particular episode, but I will follow it up later. And I think that is where the City Hunter outshines the Dragon Ball is in the popular media. Okay, so I just wanted to make that mention because I said through the 80s and into the 90s, City Hunter was a very powerful and popular TV series. Okay, so the next little category I'm going to put is, I'm just going to lump them really kind of close together because, I'm just putting them in there to make mention that I've at least thought of them. And the names that I'm going to put on this in this section is the Uhu Tetsuka, the guy who brought Astro Boy, Kimba, Rainbow Nights, Phoenix 2772. I'm also going to put the name Monkey Punch in there, which is the guy who does Lupin the Third. And I'm also going to put in things like Go Nagai, who does Cutie Honey, Devilman, Vance Jack, Mazinger Z, Grandizer, Ghetto Robo. Okay, and the reason why I lump all these guys together is because these guys are predominantly famous prior to the 1980s. Okay, so a lot of people refer to these people as the grandfathers of anime, at least the modern anime, right? And at least in terms of popularity, a lot of people in in at least anime, or who are more connected to anime, will really gravitate to titles like Astro Boy, Cutie Honey, Devilman, Mazinger Z. Right? In Japanese culture, these are probably more predominant than Dragon Ball, for example, because they're more knitted in the culture. But because they are older, to us in North America, they were really harder to access, right? One of the things that is the problem when dealing with anime and that kind of stuff in the 80s is that everything was tied to physical media. And so if you didn't have a copy of it on a video cassette or something, or on a laser disc, there was no way that you could see what an episode of Mazinger Z was unless you had a tape of it, or or a rental copy of it, or something like that you could put into a machine and play it. Obviously, in the 80s, before Windows 95, there was no internet in the same way that we know it today, right? So if you didn't have a tape copy or something of that particular show, whether it be Lupin the Third or whatever, you couldn't see it. Okay, so that's why in terms of popularity and that kind of stuff, here in North America, it was very hard to watch and see any of that anime and get the full effect of it. Okay, that's why if you see culturally in Japan, there's a lot more acceptance and a lot more knowledge about things like Cute Honey Devilman and whatnot. So I'm not, again, I don't want to mention it in this particular episode. I'll do it in the next one, like the impact in terms of popular culture. But I just want to make mention of these three names, the fact that I did consider them, but again, because of the age of what they are, and of where they appear in our timeline for North American titles, I'm going to look at a quick list of names of people who are taking advantage of the 80s here to hone their craft to basically make and get into the anime community, only to then just later on get all their success afterwards. Okay. The two main key people in this particular point is Kiyomiya and Naoko Takeuchi. Okay, obviously Kiyomiya is the guy who does Silent Mobius, Gunhead, Sonic Soldier, Borgman, Detonator Organ, Compiler, Dark Angel. Okay, he'll hone his craft and basically in through the in the mid 90s. Come up with things like Martian Successor Nadeshiko, Steam Detectives, Corrector Yui, and so he'll do lots of good stuff in the basically late 90s. Okay, Naoko Takeuchi, she's the one that creates Sailor Moon, and basically in 1991, when she makes the manga and does the release of Sailor Moon over here, that exploded and became the whole other thing that brought the female audiences into the culture of anime. So again, I won't do too much consideration to those because again, those are things that occurred afterwards. Okay, but it's not, again, I put them in to make mention that I did think and make a note of them. Lastly, I just want to go through some titles of popular mangas that are really, really hot on the market. Maybe obviously not as hot as Dragon Ball, but again, because they are newer, there's a lot more time for expansion, and of course, there's time for their market to grow. But just to make a mention that they, I did also think about them. Titles like Ichiro Oda, he's the guy who does One Piece. Okay. Back in 1997, that's when he put that out. The One Piece franchise, in overall, probably outsells Dragon Ball Z just because of the fact of the sheer number of episodes. Imagine if Toriyama actually decided, hey, I'm going to make Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball Z and GT and what the hell, let's make Dragon Ball Double Z. Dragon Ball Wing or Dragon Ball Seed or something. I don't know, whatever. Let's just make up a whole bunch of different things and make another 400 more episodes of Dragon Ball. Okay, then yeah, maybe you will have enough manga and that kind of stuff to sort of match the insanity that One Piece is. But again, just due to volume, I think that's where that occurs. Hajime Isiya, he's the guy who does the manga for Attack on Titans, again 2009. Tite Kubo, he does Bleach, 2001. All these people have significant number of sales, not maybe not individually as much as Dragon Ball, but definitely they are definitely influences to the North American market, and definitely have lots of sales in the manga world. Again, just put them onto this list to note that I did actually think and consider them in the placement of where the hierarchy and the achievements of where mangas and animes rank. So, what does all this data actually sort of mean after now that we've gotten sort of through it? Well, it's become clear that if we look at the two major factors, quality and quantity. Okay, so let's look at the quantity one first of all. Well, Dragon Ball Z as a single franchise, did sell many mangas, but now as recently has been surpassed by someone that does One Piece, and the body of the work has been surpassed by Rumiko Takahashi, and this is just simply an issue of quantity. They've managed to produce a massive amount of manga and content for the world to consume. And one of the things that that Toriyama had concerns of, especially when he was doing GT, was that he didn't want to make any more Dragon Ball. He wanted to do something else, and maybe that decision was a little bit to his detriment. And if they decided to make more Dragon Ball, I'm pretty sure that his numbers would be right up there. But that wasn't the situation, so I wouldn't put him in that category. So then the other one you'd look at would be quality. Well, no, I'm not one to consider Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z to be of a type of quality in terms of anime. I mean, there's lots of OVAs and movies that are higher production quality and and visual look that above what a Dragon Ball would have. And that's where Yaz and Mikimoto come in, right? Because they make some of the nicest and crisp anime movies and that kind of stuff that came out in the 80s, right? Again, you can see the area on the Venus Wars, the Crusher Joes, the Macross the movie, Megazone 23. All these things, in terms of production and look quality, it's just remarkable for that age. So I wouldn't put him in that category. What I would put him in is he managed to find something that appealed to the world and appealed to many different audiences, okay? And that isn't reflected in manga numbers or in his standing of where he sits in the in the anime tier list, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover that in the next episode. So again, if you go down below, make sure you click subscribe, and again, do check out those things that I have available on the links below. All right. Okay, hope you found that really interesting. And again, this is only one segment of this series I'm doing for Akira Toriyama. So again, you want to make sure you're subscribed below, and then we'll get the other parts where we go into this discussion of his influence and his other works and whatnot. Okay? So, until next time, I will see you again.